So most of you are wondering, if you guys listened to the last segment, why did he say wide receivers and tight ends in the same video? Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, the Washington football team's tight end group was so thin that only Logan Thomas showed up. Other than that, no tight end made an impact. So I'm going to actually include Logan Thomas in the wide receiving crew just because, like I said, the tight ends, other than Logan Thomas, really didn't do much of anything. So let's dissect the wide receiving group. And this is going to be hard to dissect because here's the thing. Other than Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes, I want to talk about the rest of the wide receiving core first. Other than Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver 2 and 3 was just a revolving door of wide receivers. First, you had Dontrell Inman as the number 2 guy. Then you had Steven Sims as the number 2 guy. Then you had Cam Sims as AGG was injured. Man, just so many. Washington did not have an established number 2 and a number 3 guy. And this is something that I'm going to be talking about more in depth in later videos and segments, that Washington needs to find an established number 2 guy, either via the draft or or free agency. And of course, I'm going to be talking about in other videos and segments about who are the list of free agents, who I would like to see in a Washington jersey, Give me 1 second, folks. Oh, it's still going. Sorry, folks. I was getting a phone call. That's why I lost my train of thought. So that's what I want. I'm gonna be talking about the free agents and maybe even rookie wide receivers that could be an established number 2. Heck, maybe if Antonio Gandy Golden. And here's the thing. Kelvin Harmon is a forgotten name. Kelvin Harmon, who balled out in the 2019 in the bottom half of that horrible 3-13 season, balled out. Had, I think it was like 400 and something yards receiving and a few touchdowns. So he, went down with with a torn ACL or something. So he was out of the season. So if we can get him back, maybe he can be our number 3. Because like I said in my, disappointment, my 5 studs and duds video, Steve Sims was a major disappointment. And Cam Sims was a surprise. So maybe have Cam Sims as a number 4. Not a number 2, not a number 3, a number 4 guy. Find a number 2 either in the draft or free agency, and have Kelvin Harmon in at the number 3 slot. So that's my number 1 takeaway, is that the number 2 and number 3 positions at the wide receiver was just such a revolving door. Dontrell Inman really didn't do anything noteworthy. He had just a few, had 1 or 2 touchdowns, but got injured, dropped passes. Steven Sims, injured, but when he was active, dropped key passes. Unfortunately, I can't give out a grade to Antonio Gandy Golden because he was off injured. Heck, maybe he could be our number 2 or number 3 guy next year, if Ron Rivera can give him a chance. Unfortunately, also, preseason wasn't a thing in 2020. That's where a lot of players, show them their stripes, or earn their stripes in preseason. But unfortunately, they had a reduced training camp, no rookie minicamp. So we're going to have to wait and see what 2021 holds for Antonio Gandy Golden. I personally would like to see him and Kelvin Harmon get a fair chance at being the future wide receivers if Washington doesn't get free agents or decide to be wise with their draft picks. But we're going to have to wait and see about that. Now about Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. And those are the two guys that balled out for Washington. And Logan Thomas especially, because everyone wrote off Logan Thomas as a guy who is not ready for the tight end position. He was a quarterback converted to a tight end. Played for Detroit, played okay for Detroit. And when Washington signed Logan Thomas, I was like, what? Why? Why? Why couldn't we go after an established tight end? But, why couldn't we, sign a Hunter Henry, trade for David Njoku? That was just ridiculous at the time. But Logan Thomas, for this year, silenced the critics. He had 70-plus catches, a few big touchdowns, had an incredible touchdown in the Eagles game. I think it was like a one-handed catch. So, in all honesty, he, along with Terry McLaurin, who I'm going to break it down next, he silenced the critics. And he deserves a spot here on Washington for years to come. Maybe, like I said, unfortunately, because not the other tight ends really didn't do anything of note, I included Logan Thomas in the wide receiver clip or segment. So, if Washington can again in the draft, I don't know if tight end, or if there are any good tight ends coming out of free agency. I would have to take a look again. But the last time I looked, there weren't any tight ends that kind of caught my attention. But Washington needs to draft a tight end because, like I said, having a revolving door at the tight end position. When Logan Thomas, got hurt, we were stuck with Jeremy Sprinkle, who dropped passes, Marcus Baugh, who was an undrafted free agent, who also got hurt, and then after that, I don't even know who the rest of the tight ends were. So, that is something that Washington needs to establish. Having a number 2 tight end just in case Logan Thomas goes down. Now, Terry McLaurin, last year Terry McLaurin proved that he's the number 1 guy. He's a number 1 wide receiver. Last year in his rookie year, had nearly 1,000 yards receiving, but got hurt in the final 2 games, so he wasn't able to play. And nearly no one could beat Terry McLaurin in coverage. He would somehow, someway make incredible catches. Unfortunately, he was not voted to the Pro Bowl, which I think was just a snub in my opinion. But I think the Steelers game and games after that really hurt him because he really didn't make 100. He didn't have 100-yard games after that, but he had an 1,000-yard season. So because of that, he showed that he's Washington's number 1 wide receiver. Like I said, if Washington could get him some help in the offseason so that way he is not double team, triple team, double covered, and all that good stuff, then Washington would have a legitimate passing game. So, all around, I'm going to give Washington's wide receiving core a C+. Just because the tight end group, other than Logan Thomas, of course, and the wide receiving core, aside from Terry McLaurin, was a revolving door. If Washington can find an established number 2 and a number 3 guy, then I would have ranked them higher, but I'm going to give them a C+. A C to a C+. Because they need to find more weapons for the quarterback of the future. So, let me know what you guys think regarding that grade for the wide receivers. Next up, offensive line.